Hello, my name is Connie Hubbard, and I've been a chaplain with Warrior Family Ministries for several years now. I would like to take a few minutes today and share with you where the word chaplain comes from and why it is important to understand the story behind it. Understanding the very beginnings of it helps us to better grasp what the ministry of a chaplain is all about. And at the end, I will tell you why this story fascinates me so much and what it has to do with my own hometown in Bavaria, Germany. So I have known about St. Martin growing up in the Catholic Church, but I had no idea about the connection that he had to chaplaincy. Was he the founder? In a way, yes, but it's more than just a great story. It has the fingerprints of God working through the centuries, and I find it fascinating that we can trace back the beginnings of our modern-day chaplaincy all the way back to the 4th century. So first, I will tell you a little bit about Martin himself, and then about one good deed that started a movement. Saint Martin of Tours, as his proper title is, was born in what is now Hungary to pagan parents. He became a Roman soldier at the age of 15. He had encountered Christianity in his childhood and was drawn to the Christian faith as an adult. He was a charitable and compassionate man and did many good deeds. But there was one act of charity that became a famous story. On a cold wintry night, Martin saw a beggar outside the gates of the city of Amiens. I don't know how to pronounce it right, but it is in France. He cut his military cloak in half and shared it with the poor man. That very night, he had a dream or a vision in which he saw Jesus wearing the half cloak he had given away. This confirmed his divine calling, and afterwards, he dedicated himself to Christian service. And of course, he understood what Jesus meant when he said, "What you have done to the least of these, you have done to me." For you see, when he saw Jesus wearing that half cloak, he heard the words of Jesus saying, this man has given me his half cloak and he has done it to me. So Martin left the military, worked among the poor and sick, preaching and evangelizing. His reputation for holiness attracted many other monks who joined him, and together they established a monastery, which became later a center of Christian learning and missionary activity in France. In 371 AD, Martin was elected Bishop of Tours, a position he only accepted reluctantly. He is often depicted with geese, and this is why. When the people wanted him to be the next bishop, they knew he was too humble to accept the position, so they asked him to come to church to care for a sick woman. When Martin found out about their real purpose, he hid in a shed full of geese, but the squawking of the geese revealed his hiding place, and he eventually agreed to serve as their bishop. He chose to continue to live a life of humility and compassion rather than living in wealth like most bishops at that time. He also continued serving those in need and started many parishes and also monastic communities. So what does all of that have to do with chaplaincy? I'm getting to that now. After Martin died, his cloak, or a kappa in Latin, was kept as a sacred relic. What is a relic? We have a hard time understanding how people back then would make such a big deal about an object, such as a piece of wood, a bone of a saint, or a piece of cloth. To the people, these relics acted as a tangible connection to the divine. The word relic comes from Latin, meaning remains or to leave behind. And it refers to an object esteemed and venerated because of the connection with a saint. So Martin's half cloak became a relic. People believed it held miraculous powers, and it attracted pilgrims and inspired devotion. It was even carried into battle and became a symbol of spiritual dignity of each person and a powerful reminder to seek God in ordinary things. And now we come to the word from which the word chaplain comes from. The place where the relic, the coat, was kept was a small building known as capella. Remember, the coat was a kappa, and the guardians of these sacred spaces and the relics they housed were called capellani, which later evolved into the word chaplain. In the beginning, these chaplains were clergy members who were responsible for the care of the cloak and the spiritual welfare of those who visited the capella. Over time, the role of chaplains expanded beyond the confines of the chapels. They cared for the spiritual needs at the royal court and military units. They conducted religious services, offered counsel, and provided moral support. In this way, they brought the work of the church into various facets of society. During the medieval and modern time, the role of the chaplain continued to evolve. Chaplains became part of life in monastic communities, universities, and hospitals, offering spiritual guidance and performing religious rites. In modern times, chaplains serve in many diverse settings, such as the military, hospitals, universities, other schools, and even corporations. Regardless where they serve, the essence of chaplaincy is still rooted in the principles of service, compassion, and spiritual support, the same values that were behind Martin's good deed of sharing his cloak with a poor man. From the 4th century until now, St. Martin's story is an amazing legacy of God's grace working through the centuries. From a single act of kindness, a cloak transformed into a treasured relic, from capellanis, keepers of the cloak, to chaplains who embody the virtue of compassionate service in multiplied forms across the world. A long shadow is cast into our world. And now I will tell you why I feel personally so connected to this story. On November 11, when St. Martin is celebrated in Europe, we always had a procession with homemade lanterns, and that was held in the evening, and we had a light in each lantern. We worked on those lanterns in school in the weeks leading up to St. Martin's Day. The whole village was involved, and as we walked through the streets, we would sing songs relating to St. Martin and shining our light like he did. At one point, during the procession, there was a dramatic reenactment of Martin sharing his cloak. A Roman soldier, a man dressed as a Roman soldier, rode in on a horse wearing a large red cape. Then the poor man walked up to him, and in a dramatic fashion, Martin pulled out his sword and cut the cloak in half, handing the half to the beggar. Then our procession continued on and ended at the church. There, everybody received a large sweet bread roll baked especially for that purpose. So now you know the rest of the story. The story continues through you and me, just as our lanterns shone a light in the dark. Each one of us is called to be a light. Martin left us a great legacy of ministry, of presence, of compassion and support. Chaplains are called to honor each person as a beloved child of God, made in the image of God, as if it were Jesus walking among us. Just as Martin traveled out to the countryside to serve people often neglected by town officials, it is at the heart of modern-day chaplaincy to engage with people in everyday life, especially those who are in need of support. We talk about it in terms of serving outside of the walls of the church. If you have always wondered what a chaplain does and you are curious to learn more, please visit the website of Warrior Family Ministries. There are many chaplains organizations, but I personally only am familiar with one, the one I belong to. Their vision is impacting families with hope. And so I just wanted to share that little story with you and share my delight in discovering this, and hopefully gives a little bit more understanding and also shows the amazing working out of God's purpose throughout the centuries for such a long time. It goes back to the 4th century. This is just 350 some years after Christ was crucified and resurrected. And here we are. And there are chaplains all over the world still serving among the poor, among the needy, outside of the walls of the church, wherever God is leading them. God bless you, and thank you for watching and listening.